Welcome back, everybody, to the Man at 50 podcast. I'm your host, S. Richard, author of the book, Man at 50, A Journey of Crisis, Revelation, and Survival. So let's get started on the Man at 50 podcast, a podcast that is for you, your little person within you, your hopes, your dreams, and hopefully a new plan for the future. Welcome our new sponsor to the Man at 50 podcast, Scars and Stripes Coffee Company. They empower veterans to build their own business using their e-commerce platform. When you purchase from Scars and Stripes Coffee, you are buying from a veteran, and your purchase directly impacts the men and women who have served our country. Do more than say, thank you for your service. Order today and empower a veteran. Use vet code Brad Richard at scarsandstripescoffee.com. That's scarsandstripescoffee.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Man at 50 podcast. I'm your host, Brad Richard, and today I have a good friend of mine and a great guest, Keith Roberts. And just to tell you a little bit about Keith, you can find him at makenewrules.com, makenewrules.com. He is an entrepreneurial coach and educator. He is a master business coach, certified professional coach, and certified master trainer. So for you entrepreneurs and business owners, or want to be business owners out there, turn the volume up, get a cup of coffee. Keith has some great information he's going to share with you today. And it just, I'm pretty sure that we will not be able to get everything covered in an hour. Me and Keith have talked before in the past, and we tend to go over. So there's a lots of content, lots of good information. But today's podcast is all about you, your hopes, your dreams as far as entrepreneurship and starting and owning your own business, something that I believe everyone should consider. So let me tell you a little bit about Keith's background. Keith helps entrepreneurs start, build, and grow their business by providing coaching, education, and strategy development. His career spans over 4 decades as a successful entrepreneur, a technology industry leader, a certified master business and life coach, consultant, author, speaker, trainer, and SCORE mentor. He's also been on the Better Business Bureau board as a member, and he is a leader in his community. So with that being said, strap yourself in, folks. Welcome to the podcast, and welcome, Keith Roberts, my friend, to Man at 50. How are you?
Great, Brad. Appreciate you having me on today. I'm excited.
It's great to have you here, and I've had some breathing, chest congestion, so I'm not at 100%. So like I told you before we started, we talked off air. I might be hitting my mute button, if I need to clear my throat or whatever. So
well, it just makes you sound even more sophisticated, right?
Yeah, that in between my coffee drinking. So yeah, but we're good. We're good. Yeah, tell you and I have talked quite a bit about business coaching and starting and running a small business and the challenges, and in this crazy time of 2020, as we kind of wrap up this insane year that we've all experienced, people, I know people are just they're dreaming and they're craving change and positive, constructive things that they can do to make their lives better. And so you are here, and I wanted you to be on the podcast to kind of tell people about what you're doing, your methods, your approach, and why you believe that being an entrepreneur or business owner is so important now, and as we're getting close to starting a new year.
Yeah. So, gosh, there's a lot to cover. I could take you back a little bit, tell you how I got here, just give the high level. I graduated from college with a accounting and computer science emphasis, and many years ago, I was in corporate C-level management, CFO. I was always around computers, from my first job in college back in the mid 70s. And in college, I didn't like computers much, but that was kind of part of the game. I was into computers before they were on the desktop. But anyway, so what happened was I got involved in implementing accounting systems for large businesses, and made a change in the early 80s to consulting, helping kind of mid-market, like maybe a 25 or $50 million company with mini computers. So when you're in the accounting space, computers, it's mission critical. So I learned what happened over the years. I learned a lot about what works, what made businesses profitable. Got to work with management at all levels in all kinds of industries. So, and then later when I started my own business to sell and implement software, accounting software, ERP is what they call it, actually. It's mission critical. It covers the whole business. And I got to work with larger companies, divisions of Fortune 500. So when you're at that level, implementing mission critical software, you got to do a good job. You got to learn about the client and how they operate, what doesn't work. And so that's where I got my interest and background in business. And being a consultant later, I grew my business to having my own employees, the struggles of a small business. Back before we had the internet is a real challenge. High tech was doing a fax blast with a fax machine. You didn't have email, you didn't have cell phones. So you learned kind of from the grassroots, almost from a manual standpoint of how to build a business. Back then it was business cards, handshakes, trade shows, face-to-face. You didn't have the internet to do deliver your services. And so that background made me appreciate even more having the internet to start a business, build a business. And you can literally, as everybody's aware of, you can have a business out of your bedroom if you wanted. A lot of people are doing that. So what I think is interesting about this topic right now, so many people have been affected this year by COVID. People lost their jobs. Maybe they've gotten into financial trouble. There's a lot of things going on that people are nervous. And I think our nature is to want to take charge and control our destiny, but a lot of times we don't know how. So to me, nothing is more satisfying than having your own business, calling your own shots, not being dependent upon so much the economy or a boss or an industry that fails. So the hard part, I think, for people starting a business is not necessarily just having the idea or the passion. I think it's actually knowing where to start. And so that's where I put a lot of my focus. Now, in the past, I sold my last software company. I've actually started and sold 4 different companies. And the last one I sold in 2004. So I've really been focusing on business coaching, specifically small businesses, because I think obviously that's where like 95% of the workforce is in a small business. And the government calls small business less than 50 employees, but I like to look at small business starting as a solopreneur, a one-man band. Eventually you'll grow. So trying to keep this on track here, I guess the challenge right now is people, maybe they want to start a business, maybe they've thought about it for a long time, but they don't know the first step. There's a lot of people promoting, there's a lot of hype on marketing a business and helping you start a business. And I find it ironic, me being a baby boomer, a lot of these people that are out there promoting themselves as experts, they're 20-something-year-olds, and not that there was anything wrong with that. I was too at one time, but I think there's a lot of value that comes from experience. So I feel like that's my competitive advantage, helping people because of my years of experience. I've seen a lot what worked, what didn't work, large businesses, different industries. I've watched what's happened this year. And so I've shifted a lot of my efforts to helping baby boomers, those born after 1946 to about 64. There's 10,000 of baby boomers that hit retirement every day. So what happens, they either lost their job because the business they're working for went out of business. Maybe they're downsizing. Maybe some of those people have already retired, and they're, when having retired, maybe, and there's several possibilities, but kind of here's the scenarios. They've retired, but they don't have enough money.
Mm-hmm.
They've retired and have some urgent need for additional income, maybe a life event, a medical event. It could be a number of things, but for and they don't want to deplete their savings, and they can't go out on the job market and get a job as readily as somebody younger. And then there's another part of those baby boomers that I feel they want to be relevant. That's the term I use a lot. They have all these years experience, and they want to give that value back. They can volunteer, and I've done a lot of that myself. I'm a SCORE mentor and been involved in the Better Business Bureau and boards of homeowner associations and so forth. But if they want to, and I think the desire is to have something structured, not just give back in the sense of volunteering for something, but actually have a business that has some value, a value proposition, something to offer. And so the challenge when you're starting a business, I would say especially for baby boomers, is that maybe I haven't started a business before and I don't know the first step. Well, you don't just go out and form a corporation and build a website and so forth. It really starts before that. You've got to take an inventory of your strengths and weaknesses. And so that could be maybe personality traits, the people you have a passion to help, certain skill sets that are relative. If you can operate an electric typewriter, that's not as relative as being able to use a word processor, obviously. So, and you don't have to know, a lot of times I know people feel like technology is a roadblock. You don't have to embrace and learn all of technology. There's some basics just to be, to build your business, especially if it's online. So a couple avenues. I think COVID has taught us that a brick and mortar business, as we once knew it, is kind of going away. And
Mm-hmm.
even the businesses, maybe it's not a brick and mortar like it is in a retail, but maybe say a 50-person company, they have an office suite and systems and all this overhead. And they found with COVID, when people couldn't come together, well, lo and behold, people could work out of their house. So it's kind of created a new awareness that with technology, even larger companies, as they grow and scale, they can have their employees work anywhere. There's something called a virtual environment. A virtual environment, I can actually hire people to work contract from anywhere in the world. As a matter of fact, last week I talked to someone in Australia. He was a virtual contractor. He does websites. He used to be in the space I was in. He did work with ERP systems, but he likes building websites and marketing. You can hire people through the internet that are virtual assistants that maybe you're not ready to hire that full-time assistant, but maybe you need somebody to help you with editing maybe you're writing articles or a book. You can hire virtual assistants to help you edit. So there's just a number of ways you can operate as a sole proprietor, a small business, with the help through different platforms. Now I can name some if that might be of interest. There's one that I like called Fiverr, Fiverr.com. You can go in there and type in any kind of support you need, from a computer programmer to an editor for a book, or a podcast editor to a graphic designer to an accountant, a salesperson, just about anything. There's literally hundreds of thousands of people that make their living as in a virtual environment. That's one idea. So I'm kind of going all over the place here, but I think kind of bringing it back to start a business, and not just a baby boomer. The first thing you want to do, going back to the point I was making a minute ago, is take inventory, assess your skill sets, your interest, where your desires are, how you want to deliver your business. I think that's important. Not everybody is going to be comfortable building their business digitally or on the internet. Some people may want to have a, a small office. There's something called co-working now where you basically pay a small monthly fee and you can go hang out, kind of like a Starbucks kind of environment, but it's more for businesses where they have conference rooms if you want to have meetings. I've done some of that in the past. When I was first starting my business, way back in the 80s, executive suites was the thing. That's where you had a receptionist that answered the phone up front, and maybe they did some typing for you. You had a shared conference room. Well, a lot of these places now are open environments where you be like a coffee shop. So back to assessing how you want to deliver your business and how you can be different. I think differentiation is hard, especially if you're not actually meeting people, handshaking. You develop relationships through social media. Mm-hmm. You can do some marketing with various platforms like AdWords and Facebook ads and LinkedIn and others. And so I feel like that what a lot of people do, and it's kind of a scenario that I bumped into, that a lot of people think you can build your business and sell your services through social media. Well, it's really not the case. The owners, the ones who control social media, they control how many people see your post, unless you want to pay a lot of money for advertising. So email marketing's been around for a long time. One thing I'm learning that when you start a business, first thing you want to focus on is having a method to collect email addresses and collect phone numbers. You control how those are used. Social media, you can't rely on social media, and you probably don't want to spend a lot of money advertising because you'll advertise yourself out of business. You can spend a lot of money real quick. Mm-hmm. So the point is, social media, when you're building a business, is used to make connections, to see people see who you are. Maybe you're posting a small article, maybe you have a YouTube video, and so it's a place to be found. So anytime anybody sees what you post, you want to invite them to join your group, to join your email list. Now, the beauty of that is if they're willing to connect with you on that level, give you their name and email address, they're probably somebody that you can develop a relationship with. And obviously you want to do this with trust. And a lot of people, to get your email, they'll promise you all kinds of things, free books, free training, free this and that. That doesn't, and ebooks has been around for quite some time. That's an electronic book that's in a PDF form. The bad thing about that is people will download them, but they can't ignore it. So building relationships with social media is just that. You're building a relationship over time. So people start to see, well, I like what he or she has to say. I like their messaging. Gee, I think I'd like to work with that person. So there's a relationship, just like you meet somebody, say at the coffee shop. They're not going to just hand over their credit card and buy something from you.
That'd be great, right?
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. And gosh, when I was in the accounting ERP space, our average sale was $250, sometimes $500,000. Well, obviously I didn't make a big sale like that in one or two meetings. It was long, drawn out. A short closing cycle might be a couple of months to, gosh, there was times it took 3 years. And we had to develop and do a lot of discovery, make sure we understood what they needed, do proof of concepts, demo software. Well, it doesn't have to be that complicated. But on the topic of technology, I think this is what's kind of fun. Was it November 9th? I'm doing a luncheon, or it's actually a webinar for the Better Business Bureau. It'll be actually shown all over the country. Now, my topic is power tools to supercharge your business. And what I'm going to do is teach everybody that if you have the right software, the right apps, and buy them and implement them the right way, you can position your one-man business, one-person business, and scale and grow without having a very complicated computer department or elaborate systems. You can do it from your laptop. And there's certain criteria that I'll be covering with people. And so you've probably seen all these apps. There's a million places you can find them. Some are free, some are, I think about the most you pay for an app is about 10 or maybe $50 a month, depending on what it is. So if I'm starting a business, I would say this is where I need to spend my money. Obviously a laptop. I would have a website. I would have a Facebook page for my business. I would be on LinkedIn, and a lot of people are on Twitter and Instagram, and there's a lot of other platforms, but not everything is suited for business.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with being in too many areas, trying to stay on top of all those social media platforms, you'll spend your whole day responding, posting, and all of this. So having a website, and WordPress is very popular. WordPress, kind of the beauty of having WordPress or having a website is your foundation, the hub of the wheel, so to speak. You can create your blog post. That's where you're actually writing articles about a topic that is pertinent to your market, your target customers. So you write articles, and some people write long articles. I personally like an article that's no more than 2 pages, and you can put, for the readers that read your articles from your website, they can sign up or sign up for your newsletters, where maybe it's a little more personal newsletter. Maybe they can attend a session for some training you're doing to give an idea of what your courses are about. And then the beauty of having everything controlled through your website is that you can have those blog posts post automatically to all the social media platforms. And so, I mean, it's just, I can't even think right now, I'm drawing a blank, but there's tools that allow you to take that post and pick the time that it posts to all these different platforms without you going to each one and copy and pasting your post.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's automated.
Yeah, it's all automated. I'm sorry I drew a blank there, but there's a couple of them that allow you to, and it's not expensive. Matter of fact, I've used free versions of these. So you can do your articles, your content, as they call it. And that's something else you can get on the virtual assistant platform. You can have people write content for you. You give them a subject matter and they write articles for you. I haven't done that. I prefer to write my own stuff. But so you post articles, content. You can also do video through YouTube. A lot of people have built their entire business just delivering their offer on YouTube. And so YouTube can actually be on your website as well. So like, for example, on my website, I've got my some podcasts, I've got some YouTube videos, and I've got my blog post. I'm probably leaving out something here. I'll probably come back to me, but the other thing, one of the things, the big growth area, that's an area I'm shifting to. I've done one-on-one coaching for some time, and it's a real hard thing to scale and grow because you're basically trading time for money. So if you have a certain skill or some experiences that you want to deliver to the marketplace when you're a one-man band, as I call it, it's hard to deliver something if it doesn't have some structure. So one way you can do structure is obviously through a YouTube channel and online courses. Online courses are a great way. And one thing that I'm doing, kind of one of my basic tools I'm recommending, I'm using something called Thinkific. There's Teachable. There's some other platforms. They're called learning management systems. I'm throwing a lot of stuff out here, aren't I, Brad?
Oh, that's good.
So
I told the listeners that it was going to be loaded up with specific details and insight. Just to let the listeners, understand, we're going to have links in the show notes for multiple ways to connect with Keith, because he has so much to offer anyone that really wants to start their own business. And so we're going to provide the links for you there in the show notes, so you can you can take it beyond the podcast and kind of reach out and utilize his knowledge and his expertise.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thanks.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm undoubtedly, I'm going to miss something today. And I'll think about, gee, I wish I'd said this, but
Oh,
I
no
think
worries. Yeah, no
what I'm
worries.
trying to do right now is kind of frame kind of a mindset or a framing of how you approach starting a business. You don't want to just jump out and do it. And it doesn't happen overnight. And there's a lot of false starts. You'll be discouraged. But I think the thing to do is to approach it with some kind of method, or I call it framework. I use that a lot. But I think, every business, even Facebook and Amazon started out with one person, right? Not everybody's going to be a Facebook or Amazon in their business. I find that a lot of people, because of, I think, simplicity for more than anything, I think you can load yourself down trying to grow and commit to too much where you have to borrow money, hire lots of people, get locked into fixed cost. And I'd recommend anybody start out small, start out with a couple ideas, and build you that website. Start reaching out. One of the things now, I'm gonna throw a book out. I'm gonna recommend it. I just recently stumbled upon it. It's been out for a while. There's a couple of books I like, but one is called The Lean Startup. That's Lean. And I'm sorry I don't have the author's name in front of me, but it talks about the new way of starting a business without making. Here's one big fault. I've been here. I've done this one. You start a business. You have this great idea, and you think, man, if I build it, if I create it, and I put it out there in the marketplace, everybody's going to come running to buy it. Well, it doesn't work that way. What happens is even large companies that start a new brand, which is like starting a new company, right? Is they think the marketplace is going to just latch on and they'll fill the shelves with their product and they'll sell it. Well, you do test marketing, so to speak. I don't know if you've been doing these taste tests for Lay's potato chips or the new brand of Coke or some new flavored water or something in the grocery store. Well, they do that to see what people's response is. Well, you can do that with your business idea, and especially if it's a service. I'm kind of focusing on the concept of services for a moment. You think that everybody needs your specialness when in fact, maybe not everybody does, but some people do. So if there's, and this is called picking your target or niching, you pick a group, like baby boomers is a group I'm focusing on right now because I am one. I can relate to their challenges. Start out talking about that, didn't finish. So baby boomers have certain needs that if you can relate to that group because of you share some commonality or you just have a passion. Another example might be maybe you're working with disabled, and maybe that's because you have a disabled child, or maybe you have some disabilities yourself and you want to help those. I know a lot of veterans work with veterans, right? Because they can relate. So if you pick that market, and what you want to do is start getting involved, reaching out, connecting on different groups and social media, join conversations, find out what people are struggling with, and you'll start to get ideas. Just get some notebooks, start filling up notebooks with ideas. So pick your general marketplace, your target market, the people you would want to serve. Start getting to know them, find out what they want. Start building some. I guess kind of, I don't want to use, this is kind of sounds like a bad term, but it's really not. A mock-up or a blueprint or prototype is another word. Maybe it's a service. Maybe it's helping veterans find jobs or housing or medical assistance or transportation or counseling. Baby boomers, like I said, not everybody is looking to have a for-profit. Maybe they're wanting to start a nonprofit as a baby boomer. They want to help a certain group, but that's a business, right? Even though it's a nonprofit business. So, pick that group, get to know them, find out what they need, start developing your ideas through conversations, joining groups, and just start coming up with some ideas and invite people to say, I'm launching a course, or I've got a service I'm going to start offering. Maybe it's YouTube videos, and maybe it's a group you join for a small monthly fee. So many formats, it's hard to mention everything here, but I think so. The second phase is more developing this product instead of you developing some elaborate product, especially if it's requiring materials to build it and hiring people and warehousing. Obviously, that'd be a big mistake. You don't want to go build something that nobody's going to buy. So after you get a group of people understanding and maybe even purchasing, so I think it's more people may one thing here to kind of preface, it's more than what people are willing to say. Hey, yeah, I'd like that. Find out what people are willing to pay for, because you don't have a business if you can't make income, right? So I think the thing to look at here is that if you have a group that you're working closely with, and it's a digital product like a training course or some kind of training of some sort, or is to maybe you're giving them a small break to be an early adopter. So if they're willing to fork out money for your product or service, that tells you have something viable. Anybody say, yeah, that's a cool product, but would they buy it? So, this is, I mean, we could talk for hours about this topic. Is something that I myself have gone through quite a bit, and I've had different programs that I've created. So what I'm doing right now, can I give you an example?
Yeah, Keith, before we, let's catch that on the other side. We're going to just take a short sponsor break.
Okay.
And when we come back from part two, I want to delve a little deeper into what you're doing. I know that you have more than one course that you have put together for entrepreneurs and business owners. And then I kind of I was kind of formulating some questions that came up, and I'll ask those questions in the second segment. So folks, just bear with us. We've been talking with Keith Roberts. He is a business coach and an entrepreneurial coach. So much information. Won't be able to get it all in one episode, obviously, but we will have links in the show notes where you can reach out to him. But you're getting some great information and great value. So we'll be right back after a short break, and we'll continue speaking with Keith Roberts. I want to welcome our latest sponsor to the Man at 50 podcast. The company's name is Pure Green, and they are one of the fastest growing juice and smoothie bar franchises in the U.S. They are taking on health straight on with some fantastic, healthy, delicious products. So I would encourage you to check them out at puregreen.com. That's puregreen.com. And I am very happy to be associated with the Pure Green family, and very happy that they are a sponsor of the show. Have you heard about Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. They have great creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, and it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you'll need to make a podcast in one place. Check them out and download the free Anchor app, or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm to get started. We are back, everyone, with the Man at 50 podcast. We have been speaking with Keith Roberts, and he is a business consultant, business coach, just a vast amount of knowledge when it comes to starting your own business. So welcome back, Keith, to part two of the Man at 50 podcast. And that was our short little sponsor break, but now we are back for our second segment. You started to share the plans that you have put together and the direction that you're going in. So let's start off with that. And then we're going to get into the name of your website as well. So we can kind of get a clarification on what do you see are the new rules of business.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So I'm going to touch, we touched on this on the break. I probably people thought, well, that's an odd name, Make New Rules. That's actually my LLC. And where that name came up, when I sold my last company in 2004, I knew I wanted to use my experiences to help others. I knew I wanted to coach. Business coaching was kind of a new concept then. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but Make New Rules is basically the idea came from sometimes in life, we just got to make new rules for ourselves. I was burnt out on having technology companies. It was very complicated. It was changing so fast, and I was competing with my vendors. And I said, when I sold my business, here's the requirements for my next business. I didn't want to have employees. I didn't want a brick and mortar. I didn't want vendors who controlled my destiny. And I didn't want something that required a lot of capital. Well, what does that sound like? A guy that's kind of setting himself up to be a solopreneur, an entrepreneur without employees. And that's really where things are. So that's where I got my passion for helping small businesses. I mean, because I'd been a small business. I think at the peak I had 26 employees, and I was based in Texas, and we had just a lot of exposure because technology was growing, it was changing so rapidly. So I wanted to get into something that wasn't so complicated, more basic, more what people was looking for. And so I started Make New Rules, and I mentioned this in LLC. Obviously, that's part of your structure when you start a business. You can operate as a sole proprietor, but if you have any kind of liability, and I think it's good too to remember separating your business from your personal. One of the basic principles of business is don't commingle expenses. So that's why you want to have an LLC, which is the simplest form of a business structure outside of sole proprietorship. And obviously you can grow from there. But I just want to mention that how I got into this and kind of the thought process and the passion I have is to help small business. So some of the things to look at us as human beings, I think, it's natural. We're driven by community. We're driven we're social beings, hence social media. The unfortunate thing is you're not really social with all those people like back in the day, my days of business. So we handshake. I knew every customer. I went to their office. I shook their hand. What's different now? So how do you build business? How do you find customers when they're not in your backyard? That's a big challenge in itself. You get into not network marketing, but marketing through social media, email, Zoom. You see your customers with Zoom. Most of my coaching is via Zoom. And so it's a different form of business. And the other thing too, and I mentioned using social media to make connection and find people and connect with the social media platforms. Everything on the web, every time you click on something, it's recorded. Somebody is capturing your traits, your interests, the things you buy, the things you read. Like YouTube, if you go to YouTube and you're watching YouTube videos, I watch YouTube a lot. I watch it more than TV because I can pick my topics. There's a YouTube channel or YouTube videos on anything from business, starting a business, faith-based, different preachers of certain preachers, certain faith. There's, if you like to fish, which I do, I can watch a fishing channel on saltwater fishing, freshwater fishing. I mean, there's channels for anything. If I like to do woodworking, and I could literally build a business around YouTube. If I'm good at repairing stuff or building stuff, I can start a YouTube channel, get a bunch of followers, and get paid by advertisers to promote their products. And podcasts are another way to grow your business and generate revenue. If you have a large enough audience, sponsors will pay for your podcast. You can get paid to do blogging if you like to write. You write reviews of products. You've probably seen that. If you have a YouTube channel where you're reviewing say, tools or kitchen products. You've probably seen some really good cooks that talk about their recipes. They sell the recipes. Oh, and by the way, I'm using a KitchenAid blender or mixer or whatever. They could get paid for their audience. So based upon how big their audience is, it's really interesting how the revenue models are. And I could do a cookbook too and get paid for my cookbook. So on this point of they track everything that you click on. Now the term is called pixels. It's kind of like a profile. You have an online profile. So if I was trying to start a business and I wanted to do a little paid advertising on Facebook, let's say, or Twitter or any of them, I could go out there and say, I want to pick people between 55 and 65 that are retired, that live in a cold environment, let's say north. Well, that group could use my my snow, what they call it, snow plow, where, you know, where it throws snow, or maybe people up north fish for walleye and pike, but in Texas they fish for bass. So I could say, and I've got this fishing lure for people who fish walleye. Well, naturally, I'm not going to target people in Texas. I'm going to target people in the northern states where there's a lot of lakes, like Minnesota.
Right.
So, and it's a certain age group because they're retired and they fish a lot. So maybe you're trying to promote a certain type of fishing glasses or fishing lures or fishing jackets, whatever it may be. So my point is that when you do marketing on the web, because our clicks, our navigation is cataloged, they call it pixels, and also persona is another word. It's basically, I'm a profile or a persona. And so I can target the people I want to reach out to for my business based upon just about any granular, any minute thing. I mean, I could pick people that have a certain disability, of a certain age group, that live in a certain area. It could go on and on. Just imagine any way you can dissect. So you could literally, and I think it's a good point to talk about. One of the things I fault myself on when I started coaching was not only was my offer not specific enough, I didn't have a targeted audience with a specific offer or product or service. So basically I said, okay, I know business, I know technology, I've started businesses, I understand what makes them work. So I'm going to offer my services as a business coach. So if you have a business, I can help you. Well, how do you define that? How do you write a brochure for that? If you have a business, I can help you. Well, that's pretty broad.
Mm-hmm.
But if I said, now I'll use some analogies here in a second, but if I said, you know, I help people in a certain industry, like let's say service business, let's say service businesses or HVAC, which is heating, air conditioning, or electrical, maybe that's a service I provide. So, but I'm looking for people, or maybe I serve those groups. Maybe I help do business coaching to people in those areas, or maybe I sell supplies to those certain niches. So point being, you can get real granular. The more granular, the more focused, the more niche, as they say, N-I-C-H-E. So knowing your audience, knowing who you're targeting, not only does it help you identify and have the right product marketed to them. You're not selling snowplows to a guy that's starting an HVAC business, right? You're selling something specific for that group. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but I think, so knowing that group, that your product, where they have a need for your product, is very important. So not only is it helping you sell the right product to the right group, it saves you money on advertising. People say that you can build your market, get your product out there without paying for a lot of advertising, and that's true. So if you're so focused on your product or service that you can almost reach out and on your email list and say, well, here's 500. I don't need 50,000. I only need 500 good customers, because we understand each other. They know what I do and I know what they do. And so you can market to those people without paying for a lot. It's kind of like going fishing, just throwing the lure out there, not even knowing what's under the surface. And it's so it's very costly. You know, like back in the day, you would do Yellow Pages ads and just hope somebody opened up the Yellow Pages and found you. Or you did direct mail where you sent out a bunch of coupons or you know, invitations to buy the product and just hoping you'd hit. You're lucky if you had like a 1% response. But with targeted marketing, as you get your audience identified and your product nailed down that people are paying for, like I said earlier, is that you can actually spend your time making connections, having them on an email list and market to them as maybe an offer came up or a need was identified. So you're developing relationships, getting very narrowed. Hopefully that makes sense, but it's more about, back to what I said at the very beginning, knowing who you're selling to, knowing what they need, solving their problem with something specific that they will pay for. Mm-hmm. Not just like, it's kind of, here's something else I find interesting. People measure their success, small business here, I guess we do as individuals, by the number of people who like our post. I have a good friend that he does, he posts a lot of, guy's really smart, he's got some great information. He posts on LinkedIn every day. Well, LinkedIn is a platform typically for business to business. You wouldn't find some political statements out there or somebody talking about the kid's birthday party on LinkedIn. You would on Facebook, right, or Instagram. So on this point is that as you identify your target market and you're speaking to them one-on-one, almost like your best friends, you do that through social media. And then the email marketing, you control when you're talking to them. You don't want to bombard them with an email every day, but you might send them a newsletter or something that's some free information on how to use something that you've talked about. I got off target there for a second, but so I think all in all is knowing the market, having the right product, something to buy, staying with it, staying the course. And then as you get to know your market, you may find new needs they have and you can offer an additional service. Mm-hmm. For example, I took a course recently for developing online courses because I'm trying to get better at it. Because I'm not an educator by trade, but I've done a lot of training. So I started taking the course, and then as the course went along, I was offered some more targeted ways to create different types of online training. So it was another course, but I had the relationship and I trusted the person teaching the courses. So it's kind of like, I was kind of wanting some more help, but it wasn't in this course because I took a basic course. $1,500 for a basic course sounds like a lot, right? But I could have spent a lot more money. So anyway, they call that upselling, I guess, in the digital space. But so I was offered more ways to market my courses and the ways to reach audience and the way to refine and the kind of videos that you should have and the importance of quizzes and so forth. So let's see. So how are we doing, Brad? Is there anything that I missed on that we've?
I wanted to revisit YouTube. If there's a listener out there that is saying there's something I enjoy, something I'm passionate about, and they've identified their why they want to do it. But they believe or they doubt that there's a market for it. I want the listeners to understand that with all of Keith's knowledge, experience, tools, and things that he offers his clients, and he truly is passionate about helping people, obviously. You have to have your why, and it's so important for people to understand that no matter what that why is, there is a market for it somewhere in the world. Somebody will get excited about it. they'll want it, they'll need it, and they're waiting for you to bring it, bring it to them and bring it to the marketplace. Going back to YouTube, there is literally everything and anything you can imagine. There's a lot of negative stuff on YouTube, but there is also a tremendous amount of knowledge and learning and some great content and products that are on YouTube. So I think YouTube is a great platform. I think
Yeah.
it's a great platform for that. Um, as an example, as you were talking, I remembered seeing a YouTube channel, and this channel had, I think he had like 1 million followers or 1 million subscribers to his channel, and his whole channel consisted of, as a child, he grew up without a father, and he started a channel on YouTube that simply stated, I think the name of the channel is Dad, How Do I ... And each of his videos is an answer to that question. Dad, how do I ... And each video he shows as a father figure how to change your oil, how to change a tire, how to build a birdhouse, how to build a tree swing, etc., etc., etc. And he has 1 million subscribers that watch that channel. And what he's doing is he's offering an emotional message, an emotional need of people through that channel. And of course he has sponsors, but he created a business out of just an emotional need and a connection with other people that grew up without fathers. And so that's just one example of what you were talking about. So it's literally unlimited as far as what that product or service is. It can be absolutely anything. Doesn't matter how different it is, how strange it may seem, how unusual it may be. There is without a doubt a market somewhere out there in the world. And I just encourage the listeners to do not get discouraged, and don't shut the door before you even open it.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I'm glad you brought that up, Brad, 'cause that kind of leads into something else. As you're starting your business, to find out if there's a market or to see if somebody else is doing something similar, there's some places you look to see if people are talking about it or people have already addressed it. YouTube is one of those. YouTube, obviously Google owns YouTube, so you can Google something and find out all the places where somebody's trying to sell, let's say, your particular type of service that you want to provide. YouTube, as Brad said, is a great way to learn something. Like, let's say that, I've always been interested in how people make money on YouTube. Well, you can basically go into YouTube and do a search for how to start a YouTube channel. How can you make money on YouTube? How to record my videos on YouTube, how to edit, how long should I make a YouTube video? I mean, just type in anything and somebody's created a video. I took a course one time to find out how to control the sound and also the lighting for creating a YouTube channel. And this is about 3 years ago. I think I paid $300 to take this course, and it was really basic. And I probably could have got the stuff free. And that's part of the point here is YouTube. It's all free information. But if I want to get that very targeted, that very condensed, without me spending hours researching how to control lighting and the audio, let's say on my YouTube video, I can pay somebody for that course because I'm trying to get the information concise from an expert. Somebody's becoming an expert, and just about anything on the web too, honestly, is taking something you could find for free and charging you to give it to you in a certain, deliver to you in a certain way or a certain time frame. And maybe, I guess, filter some of the information because you'd have to spend like I said, literally hours trying to find some information, which you could go take a $50 course or watch a couple of YouTube channels. So YouTube is huge. It's a great place to research your business idea. It's a great place to learn some technical skills. I'll give a plug for somebody, one of my Canadian friends, Steve Dotto, Dottotech, Dottotech. He'd love it and give him a free plug. But I started watching him about 3 or 4 years ago. I used to have a TV show in Canada talking about technology, going way back. And he has a YouTube channel that he teaches people about different software. It might be how to use Zoom, how to use Evernote, just any of the tools. And so the other thing too, when you're researching your ideas, if you go to Amazon, and let's say you're interested in a certain topic, search in Amazon and see how many books, how many experts have written on that topic. So, I mean, researching obviously is a big part of starting a business, but these platforms are just packed, and it's well worth spending the time on the front end before you start investing. And on this point too, I might want to say something I meant to mention earlier. I feel like I'm giving you everything with a fire hose instead of a glass of water. I'm giving you a fire hose here, right? So doing the research, and then if you're in a position, let's say you have a job now and you're not happy with it, but you know you want to, or you think you want to start a business, don't jump out and just delve in. I tell you, there's some rules here. When you start a business, it always takes longer to make money than you thought. It takes more money than you thought to do it. It takes, and it's probably gonna be longer before you make money than you thought. You're not going to just start making money right away. Invariably, it takes a lot longer. But I'm going to throw out some books here too. I want you to read. These are foundational books that helped me in going back 20 years, businesses that I've owned. The first one is called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, probably the best business book that's ever been written. And he's got The E-Myth, which is entrepreneur myth, the myth about talking about how small businesses fail, and that people think because they've got a certain skill or trade, they're going to be successful. Let's say a carpenter says, hey, I'm going to go build houses. Well, he may be a great carpenter, but he's a lousy businessman. He doesn't need to go build houses, because when you start building a house, you've got a lot of exposure, right? That's one example. And just because a doctor is a great doctor, a certain skill trade, doesn't mean he needs to go open up a large clinic where he has to hire employees and other doctors. And Michael Gerber is the one that came up with, I don't know if your audience is familiar with the term, work on your business, not in it, which basically means you got to step back and kind of look at how the business is going and am I making the right decisions? But he talks about in that book how there's phases you go through. You start out as a technician, the guy that's got the skill or trade, and what he has to go through or she has to go through to be successful as a business. It talks about being a manager, being able to manage people, processes, being able to implement technology and systems and accounting and all these things. So the E-Myth is a great book. Another one that I like is Duct Tape Marketing. I've got the books right here in my bookshelf behind my desk. Duct Tape Marketing is a great way, just kind of very, marketing you can do on your own. It doesn't cover everything about the internet and social media marketing. That changes every day, but it's a great book. There's a book called The Perennial Salesman. And let me pull the book here and I'll tell you. The Perennial Seller by Ryan Holiday. It's a fairly new book. It's great about talking to the concept of building the prototype and building a product that lasts forever. And it's a great book. It's an easy read. I've got mine marked up here, just had all kinds of stuff. A lot of it I'd heard, but the way he positioned it, it's like, duh, why didn't I do that before, And so I think, gosh, there's so many things here. I think using technology, just the right technology, makes a huge difference when you're developing your business. not just at the beginning, but ongoing. A couple of tools that I use that I love. One's called Evernote. There's a free version that probably will do all you need for quite some time. It's been around for a long time, but it's basically, think of it as electronic file cabinet. If you're doing research or collecting information, it's a great way to categorize it, to catalog it, to have it with you wherever you're at. Some things I use it for, if I'm meeting somebody and they show me their business card, I take a picture of it with Evernote, log it in, and it automatically takes all the information and creates a contact record. If I'm doing research and I'm on the web searching, I found a website, but I don't want to spend the time reading everything, or find an article, let's say somebody's blog post, it's a really interesting article, it gives me a lot of really good information. I may not take the time to read it, but I can automatically save it to Evernote, and Evernote will store it. It's called cloud-based. In other words, it's stored on their computers. I can look at it from my computer, my phone. Evernote is probably a tool that I can't see being in business without it. It's just incredible. And you can do a search, go into your Evernote account and search for everything that, let's say, that has customer service is the words, the keywords. You'll find all the articles that you found on customer service. And having mentioned customer service, that's one thing that I learned a long time ago. When you're starting your business, the customer is everything. Without customers, obviously, you're not going to have income. If the customer is happy, it saves you money looking for new customers. It's a lot cheaper to take care of an existing customer. I don't care what kind of business you have. Customers are everything. So treat them like gold. It's like a best friend. They're going to be your best salesman. They're going to tell other people. And with a business and using the internet, and you can't, I don't think you can have a business nowadays without the internet being a huge part of it. Mm-hmm. So customers, in their reviews they give of your product or service, your business, are huge. We touched on something else about YouTube, something I meant to mention. These things are coming to me. I'm kind of like chasing rabbits here, but I think this makes sense. To be ranked or found quicker on the internet, everything's visual, whether it's a picture of a happy customer, a picture of your product, a video interview of a customer using your product, video, social media moves those posts, those instances on the internet faster with video. Video is everything. You can write an article and be found by keywords. You probably heard the term. A keyword is something that's maybe a topic, a subject. When you're doing a search in Google, it uses keywords like customer, service, satisfaction, networking, laptop computers. Those could all be keywords. So having access, being able to have videos, pictures, graphics. If you do a blog post, you want to have a picture that is relevant to your post. Putting a description of the picture tagged when you do a post, that's going to help you be found. So it looks at not only the picture and identity attached to the picture, but also what's in your article. Let's see, what else?
We're right down to the to the tail end here, and you've covered so much information. I'm hoping that, and I'm pretty sure that the listeners are. We want them to be excited about it. We want them to be starting to think, about the possibilities. And we talked earlier before we started the episode about, as you listen to this podcast, folks, we, both myself and Keith, we understand that this is probably not something that you're going to start tomorrow. It may not even be next month. We have some things that are going on, in the world, and there's a lot of stuff happening right now. The holidays are coming up, and so this is the time to start to plant the seed, to start to think about, research, join those groups, check out some YouTube content that is related to what you're excited about, what you want to do, and start getting your ducks in a row. Start putting a game plan together, um, so that you can be ready and your mindset is there to launch your own business, at the beginning of the new year. um, it, it's pretty chaotic out there, and I understand that. I know Keith does as well. And so this is an opportunity to take the advice and the information that Keith has given you today. um, Reach out to him and connect with him. His links will be in the show notes. But this is a great time to start to look at a change of direction. And 2021 can be whatever you choose it to be. Um, I think 2021 is. I think we all need to make some really tough decisions next year, uh, and we need to become stronger because
And take charge.
yeah, and take charge. We're gonna need that in our lives and in the lives of the people around us. So, um, Keith, if you could just kind of wrap up here, and we're gonna kind of close up the episode. We're right down to the end here. Um, Tell the listeners two simple action steps that they can take within the next 24 to 48 hours to at least start them on that journey of business ownership.
That's actually an easy one. I think the most critical thing, I don't care if it's a simple business or a large business, start thinking about the people you would want to serve, the people you enjoy working with. Uh, have two, three, four, maybe five. I don't know. Just so think about who you'd like to work with. Number two, think about, you're going to have your own ideas, but you're not going to know until you talk to them. Think about what problems they're having that you might be able to help them with. So look at your background, your experiences, your passions, the things maybe you've done some with, uh, and just start thinking about, ask them, do you have this problem? Or what if you had this? Would it help you? What are you buying now to solve this problem? And well, we could talk about that in a long time, but I think that's the big thing is who you might want to work with, what the problems they have, and what you could offer them to help them solve those problems. That's the starting of a successful business, pure and simple.
Perfect. Those are two great action steps. Keith, I want to thank you for being on the Man at 50 podcast.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. You have so much information. I know that the listeners will gain a tremendous amount of value from what you shared today. And folks, I want to encourage you to check out the links, connect with Keith. Um, this man is very passionate about helping you get started. And if you have that dream, or if you even have an inkling, just a thought in the back of your mind that it's like, maybe Keith would be the perfect match to help you kind of bring that to the forefront, and maybe make a major change in your life starting in 2021. Um, so I'll thank you, Keith, for being on the Man at 50 podcast. I want to thank the listeners for joining us today, and we'll be back within a week or two with another episode. Um, and any last words? Anything else that you had to add there, Keith?
The only thing I want to say, if you've got questions, you can go to my website and schedule. We can do a 30-minute session if you think you've got a good business idea. I'm not going to tell you it's good when it's maybe not. I've seen a lot of things that worked, a lot of things that didn't. So reach out if you've got a good business idea, and we'll talk strategy. I love strategy. I love small business.
Excellent. And that is makenewrules.com. Makenewrules.com. Keith Roberts has been our guest today. And thanks again, folks. We are now heard in 26 countries, and we're on 11 different platforms. So the Man at 50 podcast is growing. Please subscribe and like and tell your friends about the podcast. I try to bring you valuable content and information that you can use each and every episode. So I will end like I always do. Remember to love your little me, and remember that they are always with you. Take care of yourself. And until next time, bye for now.
This has been the Man at 50 podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us next week for our next episode and our next guest on the show. Visit us on the web at www.bradrichard.net. That's www.bradrichard.net. Until next time, take care.